Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe. So special shout out. Hey, Brian, thank you for your comment. Actually two comments. The first one, well, we're going to do a comparison. It's a 55-year-old man. I'm 52, and he shared a really good story. But during our narcissistic abuse, he also had a really good comment. So before I get into the deep topic, he said, we all have to look within ourselves. Don't lie to yourself. In the beginning, you ignore the red flags. The love bomb felt so good. It was easy to do. And he goes on to state that, we all have to accept our own responsibility in this. So we do have to accept our responsibility because we did react. And we didn't react always the best way, but it's because of that Stockholm syndrome. And that's where you get into this panic mode. You're acting out of character. There are things that we did, but our brain is rewired by the abuse that we went through. So yes, we did play a part in it. There are things that we could have done differently, but it's still abuse. But we did have something to do with that downward spiral. We were thrown off kilter. We had the rug grabbed out from under us, and we were just trying to get rebalanced. And when like the teeter totter, like when the scale gets tipped too much, it's almost impossible to get back. And we just wanted that balance. So, you know, uh, should we blame ourselves? We can see the things that we did wrong. But you're correct, Brian, on saying, we shouldn't lie to ourselves because we don't want to bring things into the next relationship where we jump the gun and we're um accusatory or overbearing, needy, trying to analyze everything. So we need to take it as a learning lesson. But with the narcissist, they take advantage. So even if we did self-reflect, or back off a little bit, not trying to understand so much, it's probably still would have turned toxic. But it's a great comment, because I know I struggle with the it's not your fault stuff. Because I look back, and I could have handled certain things differently, but we're also catering to the narcissist who's taking advantage of us. It's different if it's healthy. We were being taken advantage of. And, you know, uh, it's like if you're taking money out of my purse, I can scream at you to stop doing it, or I can say, please respect my boundaries, don't take it. We can handle it different, but the narcissist is still going to steal from us. So did I handle it right by saying it polite? Did I say, you cannot do that? And that's where the boundaries come in, because if we get rid of somebody who is disrespecting our boundaries over and over again in a relationship, we will be healthier. So we stayed too long. But we also got caught up in that Stockholm syndrome where we loved our abuser. But that's a great comment. But the main comment that I want to go over, like he said, he's a 55-year-old man and I'm 53. So we're talking about accountability, things like that. And he goes on, we're talking about, where does narcissism come from? Are they born or made? So he said he could be wrong, wanted to share his thoughts, stated he's 55. And so he was in grade school years. We're in the 70s. I was born in 70, but mine started like 75. I was in kindergarten. So he was taught not to fight with the girls, and especially don't ever hit one. So yes, we're going to do the man woman. He's going to be the man, I'm going to be the female. So he's being taught, don't fight with girls. Girls, from my perspective, it was nice that you had that safety net. But as hormones happen or jealousy or things like that, like there were girls that definitely took advantage of it. There's just, you see the Amber Heard thing. She's thinks it's okay to hit Johnny Depp because she's female. So some females definitely did take it for granted and were abusing Nobody should hit anybody, especially over the things that people do hit each other over. It's not life or death stuff. It's, you forgot to get the groceries, so he was taught to respect women. He was taught to agree with women. Um, I, on the other hand, grew up with, usually it was the male dominance. So, we did have respect your teachers. A lot of teachers were female. Those respect your teachers, male or female. A lot of the people when I was growing up, the top people, those type of jobs that in society deserve the respect or get the respect were mostly male figures. So he was taught to agree with the women. And I'm sure it was also, I don't know, that's kind of, and I wonder if you were in a two-parent household or if you were raised by just a mother. Huh. I had both parents. So almost all of his teachers were female, like I said, including the principals. My first principal was male. And then in fifth grade, my fifth grade English teacher took over the position. So I almost always had a male. And male in middle school and high school. So, but his was female, teachers, principals, and was taught that his opinion didn't matter. If a woman had an opposite opinion, she was right. So, he's being taught to respect women. I'm real curious now if he was raised by a grandma or a mother, or who had the biggest influence. My parents were both at home, but my dad worked all the time, all the time. Good man, but worked a lot. So he was taught, he was trying to stand up for himself, but he didn't have a chance. So that's going to cause a lot of frustrations. And I'm curious what the other boys were taught in your area. I grew up in Michigan. Sometimes different states, you got your Bible Belt in mid America, but different states are either liberal or conservative. But my parents, okay, my parents, so there we go. He was raised by both, and his dad agreed with the mother, um and so he didn't have a chance, so he was raised by both parents. And it's only been until recently that he won't play that shit. He's like, I'm done with that. He's starting to set his boundaries. Boundaries are good if you're male or female. You know, we all need to have our own personal boundaries that make it or break it. We don't have to stay in these situations that make us uncomfortable. When something causes you too much distress, and you know, is this ever going to change? How permanent is this distress? So he says, I will never be controlled by a woman again. So he's asserting his boundaries, and I hope that he seems really sweet. So, you know, to be controlled by a woman, or for us females to be controlled by a man. The word control, we're adults now. We've gained our independence in life, so we should work together instead of being controlled. So if you feel you're controlled by your spouse, cultures are different too. So I'm an American, but you know uh if you're looking at an American type model that feels comfortable to you, that um we shouldn't be controlled. um we should learn to live together, work together, get along. And so he says he's learned to be honest with himself and others. It's been his experience that what makes most people uncomfortable, well, I can give two fucks. Uh-oh, Brian, a little bitter. um it's been my experience that what makes most people uncomfortable. Okay, so sometimes too, though, I think what he's saying is, he doesn't want to walk on eggshells, and he's also, I'm not sure if he's completely healed from the abuse. Sometimes scar tissue is left on our heart. We're not the same person. Um, so he's worked his whole life to get to where he's at. So he's been divorced twice, and so he probably has some anger built up because he's been divorced twice, had to fight for his home, both times a home he built from the lumber he cut himself. So that's got to hurt even more when it's, you know, I would love to do that. I'm not going to. Like, that's a lot of passion to make the house that you want. And you take pride in that. And when he's got to, um, fight for that house, that's his pride and joy. That's his home. That's what he built, his dream. Um, and he he put the blood, sweat, and tears into it. It could have been amicably, you would hope that the female would be like, I get it. Like, he built it, buy me out, give me half or something. Um, but yeah, that would be a big one. So he has a motorcycle collection, 4 vehicles on the road, all of this with no help from anyone. So he's really working. And if he had no help, um, you know, sometimes those females, or male, depending on your situation, but they feel entitled to certain things that technically they're really not entitled to. Or at least, maybe legally, but morally, are they really entitled to, the house he built? Especially if he's the one paying the bills. And I know there's, um, it's kind of interesting on, there are agreements, you stay home with the kids, and they do make provisions for that because, you know, um, if I was stay at home, I, wasn't going to school. I missed out on years of climbing the ladder. So my pay scale, when I, get divorced at 50 or 60, my pay scale is going to be like a 21-year-old's, fresh out of college, where I'm never going to catch up on that pay scale. So there are provisions because of that. But it's tough balance, but he built that house. And his daughter is 2 years away from having a doctorate in front of her name. So, he, that's really good. That usually is from a better, at least one, you need at least one parent, hopefully two, but at least one parent that, is really supportive for a child to exceed like that. Um, so, and there's always these variables. There's people who, have enough self-esteem to make it, even if they grew up in a terrible situation. Look at Sylvester Stallone. People were making fun of him because of the way he talked. And he wrote that, Rocky script, and he demanded that he be the star of it. And look how famous that was. Like, he sold his dog because he couldn't afford dog food. And I mean, he was down and out, bottom of the financial scale, just living a really rough life. And look at what he achieved, so it's not well, I don't know his childhood, but I just know that he was down and out. So he says, don't get me wrong, I'm not mad at women. And there are some things though with, you know, um, I think you can handle it in a healthy way, but I'm not gonna play that shit. Like, you know, um, he's ready to cut somebody out. So hopefully he has a little bit of leeway to, work through some tough times. Uh, it's not cut and dry because narcissists will use that black and white thinking. So I know there are some really good ones out there. So yeah. And I like that he said there are some really good ones out there, because just like men, there's some good ones, some bad ones, and we have to weed through them. The thing with narcissists, his was dark triad, according to him. I just did a video on that. So type in dark triad if you'd like to learn more about that. But that's probably more extreme than what I went through. So if you guys have been watching me, my stories. Yeah, dark triad. Mine, yeah, there maybe a splash of that stuff, but not full fledged. So, what he's saying is that society taught him to put up with way too much. Me too. Me too. And I'll finish this and then get back to that. So no one taught him to stand up for himself. He had to learn that the hard way. I still don't know how to do that. Um, it's hard. When I was 8, my dad became super religious. And he didn't just delve into the religion. He grew up Mormon, and then his cousins are Jehovah Witness, so he kind of checked into that. It didn't seem right for him. So he started like really just like you guys, how I'm trying to do all this mental illness stuff, not just narcissism, is because just like my dad with the religion, he read the Quran, the Torah, um I it's like the czar, or he, he I can't remember, Confucianism, just all the different religions and theories, and Allah, and the difference between like Muhammad and Jesus, and he just really delved into it. Religions I probably don't even know exist out there, but the more information you have, the more wise choice you can make. And he made the choice that was wise for him, but he became very strict. And we were taught to obey, especially being Christians, honor your mother and father. Plus, he got real strict. We weren't allowed to even watch Cinderella Disney movies because of all the little innuendos or secret little adult jokes they'll stick in there, or the evil stepmother. My parents were divorced, but he didn't think it was necessary to evilize any, is that a word? I'm going to use it. Evilize somebody. Why they had to bring like the hatred or the anger, all those kind of things. So we were just taught to obey. And I just did an abulomania video on being indecisive. That's another mental illness, where we struggle. Do we stand up for ourselves? How do we do it? So he learned the hard way. We got to be careful of our fear of abandonment. That's where we lack setting boundaries. They say that that's low self-esteem. We got to be careful of being too polite. I'm a good little Christian girl. And you guys know, we all go off the path a little bit. Nobody's perfect, but I pretty much live on the up and up. But it causes us to be so scared of abandonment sometimes. Of We're not used to setting boundaries because we follow the rules. Nothing's like rocky, but we become passive, and the things we do don't work because like I keep telling you guys how I'm a teacher, and how you say certain things. So we we have to be more direct in our speaking, as opposed to me saying, would you mind picking me up from work today? If you're with a husband wife, I need you to pick me up, like we're a team. And of course they can come back with a can't. you know I have a doctor's appointment, but if it's just I want to go hang out with the guys, they can offer alternatives. But we have to be direct, because a lot of times we give people a reason to abandon us. So if there's no reason, like if I had a husband that he couldn't pick me up, and we're supposed to be a team getting each other through life, I'm bringing in money for the household, doing my part. I just need him. I let him use my car to get to work, and I just need him to pick me up because we're down to one car. We're sharing, and he has it. And if I say, would you mind picking me up? He's gonna be like, I'd rather go out with people and hang out at the bar or go to the gym. Um, we we become passive in our speaking, and it's seen as a weakness. And when they see that weakness, it's also a window of opportunity for them to get out of things. Um, so uh, he learned the hard way. Um, and to top it all off, he says he honestly thought he was helping these dysfunctional women. And that's the thing, too. Sometimes we feel like we're the savior, or that we can fix somebody, or we're doing right by them. But we have to stop and think, are they doing right by us? So he says, lesson learned. That's a healthy way. Like, yeah, it's a lesson learned. Um, and he wants us to know he's not bashing women. And that's the thing too. You can kind of see, um, and I understand it. I do it too. He's trying to state things. A society, um, will judge the words we say so much. So he can't just speak his mind. This is what I feel. This is bullshit. What I went through. I'm putting up my boundaries. I got fucked over. And I could give two fucks if it makes you uncomfortable. So then people are going to bash that apart. So we we start saying, again, I'm not bashing women. And that's something within us. I do it too, where we have to clarify everything. We have to say this, we're walking on eggshells right now. You're walking on eggshells. And that's what society is teaching us, that we can't speak our mind. We have to be conscientious of people's thoughts and feelings. And we all take things so internal and personal. So me reading this, I'm a female, and he's saying, I won't play that shit. I could give two fucks. I'm not taking it. I have the wherewithal that a lot of times people say, um, never, always, where it's 100%, um, constantly. Like, you constantly call me. They don't constantly call you. They called you twice today. They called you tomorrow once. And there's words that are like overinflated. And people, I take his words are, and part of it too is I'm getting to know him through his texts and stuff. Um, we feel like we can't speak our mind. So he's saying that he's not bashing women. He wants us to know that. Um, he's saying what she did, you know, um, but and he did say that what makes most people, not everybody, uncomfortable, that he could give two fucks. Um, I I see that as anger. I see that statement as anger, but he does recognize it's not all people. He said most people. Um, and anger is a natural emotion. We have to go through it. Um, but hurt people. So I feel as the anger releases a little bit more, there's probably some anger. I can hear it talking about the household, and you're entitled to that. You can feel what you feel. Um, because yeah, you were taken advantage of. You have every right to be angry at this woman. Um, and I think the fog is clearing to where you're going to see more clearly that your boundaries don't have to be as succinct on most people. That'll start to filter out, and you can see people for who they truly are. This is part of a protective boundary in my eyes. And I can relate. I can relate. So he's had to cut some very dysfunctional men out of his life also. So he's definitely not saying it's only women. So it's definitely not all against women. It's a dysfunctional society. And I really appreciate what he said. So what is this? What's going on with our parents, our upbringing? You know, it's a lot different in today's day and age. Um, we're taught more that we're equal. Um, and I keep it in the forefront of my mind to do more research on the balance of how we're changing from when Brian and I grew up to now. Where's that balance? All of a sudden the men have to come closer on par with the women. The women, heck yeah, we're empowered now. So this is more positive from women, but women are becoming increasingly more narcissistic, and this whole balance, and now we're all button heads because so many people feel entitled. um and we all need to be heard. That's the hardest thing with these narcissists is we weren't heard. Our feelings didn't matter. So Brian, when he was growing up, he wasn't allowed to speak his mind. And because of that, we lose out on the training time, putting it into action, seeing how it works. And so if I would always go through all the different scenarios, uh, I also heard this one story that my mom told me, and I'm not exactly sure if it's 100% true or somebody she knew or she read it. But she told me about this guy who gave this girl um, roses for Christmas. And she's like, fuck this, fucking roses. We've been together how long? She tosses them into the fireplace. And inside the roses was her engagement ring. And of course, diamonds are compressed coal and it burns up. And then she handled it the wrong way and the engagement was off. That one little thing, he was ready to marry her. She overreacted and now they're gone. They're not together. So it's kind of like those kind of thoughts go in my mind, like, what is the outcome of this? So, you know, how do we stand up for ourselves? What boundaries? So we get scared of abandonment. Because I think about that girl, she should have just handled it different. And I'm like, I don't know how to handle certain things, and I don't throw fits like that, but um, we get scared, and you get to the almost like the narcissist, fuck yeah, I don't give a fuck what you think. It's a protective measure. um but we also have to if I'm not going to sleep with you on the first date, and I'm not going to give a fuck. I'm not going to give a fuck what you think or what others think. Well, you need to become, yeah, there are the I don't give a fuck types of situations that you need to put those boundaries up for whatever fits you guys. So I appreciate this comment because how he was brought up. Um, you know, he was told these women are right, and he relinquished a lot of his power, a lot of his boundaries to the women because of what he was told. The father, based on this, the father agreeing with uh, the mother, um, you know, uh, that's he was leading by living by example. He saw his father doing this for the mother. Um, so he's kind of mirroring that. That's what all the mirroring that's how we learn as children. By mirroring, we develop our personality. And if the father is agreeing with the mother, um, I wondered the rest of the dynamics of that relationship, because the man in this household doesn't sound like he was the one wearing the pants. And so, our buddy Brian grew up, you know, uh, being somewhat controlled, and absolute power corrupts, or how does that go? Um, Absolute power corrupts, absolutely, I think is how it goes. And the woman had the power and it became corrupt. She took him for a ride, both of them. So keep your power, be respectful. It's a hard balance. That's why, people ask me about the new supply. Will it last? Um, we're all brought up by different people, and different things are important to different people. And, my both mine got together with 10, 14 years younger. Um, they haven't been through this like uh almost like self-awakening that we're going through watching these YouTube videos, like, whoa, this is what was going on. And we do reflect, just like in the beginning of the video, of the things that we did wrong, you know. Reactive abuse, did we do too much? um it's messed up and it's sad. There were two people in it, just like I talk about the murderer across the street. Watch that video if you want to know more about the murderer that lives across the street. But uh you can this is he went to prison because um somebody came at him with a knife and he shot the guy. So it was equal or lesser uh force that you were allowed to use. So if we're thinking about our reactive abuse, do we use the appropriate amount of force, such as um yelling or sulking or leaving for the night and going to stay at mom's instead of talking it over, all these kind of things. It the new supply, um there's gonna be some struggles. If they're healthy people, it's gonna be like ripping the rug out from under them. They're gonna be so scattered, like what's going on. They're gonna and like I've said too, where um you push me away and I'm like teetering, I'm gonna reach onto you. I'm gonna come close. I'm not gonna back off. And that's how we get caught in the clinginess, and we're pushed away so abruptly. We're on that, like we feel um unstable to where we have to latch on, because that's what we're used to. That is just a mess. But I hope you like this. Thank you, Brian, for that comment. And guys, comment below, how were you raised? What were some of the struggles you see it affecting your adult life? Because what we went through, good or bad, affects who we are. And when it comes to the narcissist, they take advantage of the good. They they can be in relationships with other narcissists. Um, it's two people using each other then. Uh, just very volatile, very unhealthy. And the thing with narcissists is they don't have the empathy to change. Um, you know, these women, the entitlement that they felt, maybe they could feel entitled to possibly the money of the house, splitting it halfway. But I mean, that man built that house. I agree, Brian. That house should have been yours. And it sounds like you were able to keep it, but you had to fight tooth and nail for it. So please like and subscribe. Comments are always welcome, and I'll see you in the next video.